Caledonia Warriors stayed unbeaten. They fell behind early, but came back to defeat Dover Yoda last Friday night. Head coach Carl Fruechte joining us. And coach, you told us last week you were expecting a battle, and you definitely got one, but your kids pulled it out in the end. How ultimately did you get the result that you wanted?
Well, first of all, Darren, we've got to give Dover Yoda and their coaching staff a lot of credit. Coach is doing a great job up there, and Dover Yoda always has good athletes. Kids that compete, and so no surprise to us. So yeah, we were. They got a couple big plays on us. We helped them a little bit. Did some foolish penalties that we talked about Saturday. Just we gotta know better. We gotta do better. We gotta be more disciplined. And they just deserve a lot of credit, Darren. They did a great job, and our kids needed to wake up and humble themselves and come back and make some plays.
And you were down 13-0 in the third quarter, and that's an area that you haven't been in too often, to your program's credit. How did the kids find it within themselves to make the comeback?
Yeah, just we did a few, we changed a few things up, and the kids bought into it. They listened to us, and our effort got better, and a little sense of urgency, right? And the other thing we do talk a lot about, Darren, is I'm always talking to the boys about what are we going to do when we're down 21-0. What are we going to do? How are we going to handle it? What are we going to do? We're going to freak out, and you know, um, so I'd like to think that that helped a little bit, but again, our kids deserve credit for understanding the sense of urgency and getting things done.
And your running attack the other night, putting up some pretty good numbers, 277 yards on the ground, 7.1 yards a carry. Statistically, that was a pretty good night. What made that work last Friday?
Actually, attitude and effort, Darren. A bunch of my coaches were texting Saturday night, and we were just going back. We do a little film study Saturday morning. We coach our youth kids, and then we try to get Saturday, take it off, right? Watch a little college football, right? But by Saturday night, coaches were texting, and it's right. Life and sports is all about attitude and effort, and we just sort of got our attitude right. And there comes a point, Darren, right, where young people just got to step up and decide they're going to listen and do. And so we just did a better job getting off the ball, getting our angles, and making holes for Owen Denstead.
And looking at the way things went last Friday night, obviously there's some lessons that can be learned from that ball game, but you got the result that you wanted from a coaching perspective. Is that kind of the best of both worlds?
I hate to say this, but I think you're right. Because you don't like getting down 13-0 to a good football team, and obviously if we do that this Friday, we'll be in big time trouble. But at the end of the day, life's about fighting, right? Coming back and dealing with adversity, and also humbling yourself, right? I think everybody, right, coaches included, athletes, we all have to be humbled and understand it still comes down from the basics, the fundamentals, and just doing what's right.
And you mentioned this Friday, obviously a big ball game. Every game's a big ball game when you
All
only
right.
get to play 8 on the regular season. But Chatfield
Well,
5-0,
thank
you
you
get.
for saying that, Darren. Thank you for saying that. I love that. I really appreciate that you just said that, because every game is huge. You only get 8. You're only guaranteed 8 in high school football. So thank you. You're right on. But yes, big time game with Chatfield. We have a lot of respect for their coaches, their players, right? I'd like to think, Darren, that we play great football in Section 1. 2A football, I think, there's a lot of schools in our section that if they were in the other part of the state, they might be in the state tournament, to be honest with you, Darren. And I'd like to think that us and Chatfield have had something to do with that. But yeah.
And, and what about this year's edition of the Gophers impresses you the most?
I don't, right. Everybody, Sam Backer is a heck of a athlete, heck of a football player. I hope he's doing well out in Mankato. But really don't see any drop off. The shot kid, I hope I'm saying his name right. Um, I'm not always the best at names, Darren, but he's a load, man. He's a good running back, good linebacker, real nice offensive line. Their quarterback is doing a great job. They're the real deal. But again, if you're a competitor, Darren, you love that. I I really appreciate our rivalry with Chatfield. I think it's great for high school football. I think it's great for southeastern Minnesota, and to me, I just love it. I just love when you play great teams.
And it's one of those games that no matter the result Friday night, you both should get better from a game like that, correct?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And then it's going to be, how do you handle it? How do you handle it? Whatever happens Friday, and I know both schools are going to play fast and physical, and it's going to come down to right 3 or 4 plays, Darren. Who makes those 3 or 4 plays? And from there, what do you do afterwards? So again, it's the great thing about football. There's 8 games. You got to figure it out real quick. It's not as easy as what the average fan thinks. And yeah, we're just excited for the opportunity.
All right. It ought to be a dandy of a game Friday night. Keep your kids healthy. We wish best of luck, Coach.
Thank you, Darren. I appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
Carl Fruechte, head coach of the Caledonia Warriors.